My name is Sandra Flansburgh. My pronouns are she, hers, and I am a woman of a certain age, Caucasian, gray hair, and wearing a beautiful little vest that my daughter gave me for, I think, Christmas. Welcome to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness. No matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming, we greet you today with love. I'd like to extend a special welcome to everyone who is watching us on YouTube this morning. During the prelude, please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from. If you're in OKC, what neighborhood you are in, or if you're elsewhere, what city you are in. And now the prelude prepares us for worship.
Good morning. My name is Tim Atkins. I serve as your Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. My pronouns are he, him, and today I am wearing rainbow glasses, a rainbow striped gingham shirt, and I'm both big and tall. Our chalice today is lit by Tempe Nichols Rood. Come up, Tempe. We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope.
Again, welcome. Good morning. Hola. Buenos dias. I am Reverend Sue Redfern Campbell, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. For those in our community who may be blind or visually impaired, or who are joining us online without video, I am a short white woman of a certain age with short brown graying hair. I am wearing a white, cream-colored really, sweater with black on it and a green shell underneath, and I have a leafy green stole. And I often walk with a cane, which happens to have a nice leopard pattern on it. As we continue to settle into this sacred time together, let's take a deep breath. And let's let go of whatever is getting in the way of our just being present. I offer these words from Adrienne Marie Brown, an African-American community organizer and theologian. And she writes, "Pleasure reminds us to enjoy being alive and on purpose. Pleasure, embodied, connected pleasure, is one of the ways we know when we are free, that we are always free, that we always have the power to co-create the world. Pleasure helps us move through the times that are unfair, through grief and loneliness, through the terror of genocide, or days when the demands are just overwhelming. Pleasure heals the places where our hearts and our spirits get wounded. Pleasure reminds us that even in the dark, we are alive. Pleasure is a medicine for the suffering that is absolutely promised in this life. Pleasure is the point. Feeling good is not frivolous, it is freedom." Here at First Unitarian, there is a commitment to sharing pronouns and to offer self-descriptions as part of the effort to ensure that no one is excluded from full participation in the life of our church. In this spirit of inclusion, our sanctuary is equipped with a telecoil hearing loop system. Please see your hearing aid provider to learn how to access this. And we have a large print orders of service and hymnals. They are available at the back of the sanctuary. And our ushers today are members of the Human Resources Working Group. And the purpose of the HRWG is to act as a check and balance within the church. The HRWG ensures that a balance is struck between the rights and interests of the church as an employer with the rights and interests of its employees. The work of the HRWG falls into four broad areas: recruitment and hiring, employee relations, staff appreciation, and volunteer job descriptions. The HRWG is also responsible for developing and updating the Personnel Policies Manual. And so, we are going to sing a hymn now, hymn number 100 in Singing the Living Tradition. I've got peace like a river.
we do a little interview so everyone can get to know our new Reverend Sue a little better. And we had some of our RE students last week come up with some questions to ask today. But our first question is, where do you consider home?
I grew up on the East Coast in New Jersey, so that's one way of thinking about it. But I would say that Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I live now, except for right now, that Albuquerque is my home.
A very important question from one of our younger students is, what's your favorite animal?
Oh, wow. Well, I'd have to say I have a number of favorites. Turtles, for instance, manatees.
I imagine those aren't very common in New Mexico.
No. But there are road runners in New Mexico, so that would be another. And anything in the feline family.
Speaking of that, do you have any pets?
Well, I do. I have one cat. Her name is Phoenix, and that's because she rose from the ashes of a high-kill shelter in Roswell, New Mexico, and was rescued. So.
I'm on Team Cat as well, as our church. So what about hobbies? Do you have any hobbies that you like to do?
Well, I like to play Wordle. And
You don't know this. We have a One UC Wordle group on Facebook because the posts were too much in the main group.
Oh.
We have a whole separate group just for the Wordle posts.
Oh, what fun. Okay, well, I think this morning I got my streak up to 257. So, and at other word games, I like to garden. I like to read for pleasure. I especially like to read about New Mexico, but now that I'm in Oklahoma, I'm going to try to read about Oklahoma. I like to cook, and I like to travel.
I've already suggested Reverend Sue read Boomtown. If you have any other favorite Oklahoma books, please recommend.
Yeah, send them to me by email. That would be great.
So we have a lot of folks who love playing games at this church. We have a monthly game night. What is your favorite game? You mentioned word games. Do you have a favorite? Scrabble?
Yeah, Scrabble, actually. I enjoy playing Scrabble. I haven't had a chance to play it, the board game, in a while.
Oh, all right.
So.
We might be able to change that here.
Yeah, and I'm willing to learn. I like to learn new games, too. So, and I probably won't be very good at any of them, so you all get to beat me.
So what's saying you would like everyone here to know?
Let's see. I think people should know that although I think I get around pretty well, I had a fall in August and I'm still walking with a cane because of that. It affected my balance. I actually fell at the gym when I was trying to get fit. So, and it's difficult for me to stand for long periods of time. So if I'm talking with you and we're standing, I might suggest that we sit down.
So what is your favorite holiday and why? You're starting a week before Easter. That is an ominous start time for a minister. What is your favorite holiday?
Yeah, well, I love Easter, although I'd have to say that the one that just all the winter solstice holidays, but I'm a real Christmas person, and I have a huge extended family that from coast to coast, and we all are very much in touch at Christmas.
Speaking of family, who do you consider family? Do you have members of your family? If so, where are they from? You mentioned all of them, right?
Yeah, well, my sisters and I have become the oldest generation in our family, except for one aunt who is just reached 92, I think, and she lives in Massachusetts, and I do try to get to see her. But I'm the oldest of 3 girls, and both of my sisters have kids. Mary has a son named Sean, and my other sister has 3 sons and 1 daughter, and my daughter's my niece, is the only one in the family who actually is in the military of the whole family, and she retired as a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps. Yeah. So yeah, my sister and brother-in-law in Tucson, Arizona. And then I have an extended family from my late husband, Chuck. Whom I try to stay in touch with also.
So you mentioned you're a big reader. What is one book that you love recently?
I read a book called The Seed Keeper by Diane Wilson, who is a member of the one branch of the Anishinaabe Nation in Minnesota, and that was just a very gripping book. I loved it. So.
And our final question for now is, what are you excited about doing here in Oklahoma City?
I'm excited about being here at the church.
Oh, that was an easy answer.
And seeing some of the important places. I've already been to First Americans Museum for a short time, and I'm expecting to probably haunt the place for on my days off. And also we've been to the National Memorial, thanks to you, Tim. And so.
On Wednesday we went down to the Oklahoma City Memorial Museum.
Yeah. So and I actually got a chance to walk in the field by myself one day too. I like to take walks around the neighborhood and discover restaurants.
And you're kind of living in the area by the church, so if anyone has a great local restaurant that you want to recommend, I'm sure Sue would deeply appreciate that as well.
That would be cool, yeah. Or tell me your favorite books about Oklahoma, books for any age, so, yeah.
So this is just the first chance to get to know Reverend Sue. After the service today, Reverend Sue will be in the Daniel Hall, where we're having a reception after the service, where you can get to know her a little better. We'll be getting to know Reverend Sue through worship over the next few weeks as well. So again, welcome to Oklahoma City. Let's hear one more big now is the time in our service where we receive our children, youth, and Army volunteers off to their classrooms. Today, what's happening? Our youngest kids are talking about our going to be making presents for someone special. Our second through fourth graders are going to be making cookies for that reception. So stay tuned for what those might look like. We've got our fifth through seventh graders talking about the economy in their new Dungeons and Dragons world, and our high schoolers are talking about Easter and Youth Sunday. So please join us in singing Go Now in Peace.
Hello. I'm Lori Jervis. I'm chair of the Committee on Ministry. I'm a Euro-American woman wearing a green top and a black jacket. Every Sunday, we take an offering. Since 2002, and by the way, I was just noticing that 2002, that's a long time. All the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work, our Change for Change partners. For the month of March, our Change for Change partner is Pivot. Pivot works with young people, ages 12 through 24, who are homeless, disconnected, or otherwise at risk. Pivot provides programs and services including counseling, educational and vocational services, and prevention, intervention, and diversion services. For those of you who are in the sanctuary with us today, in just a moment we'll be passing the offering plate. We know that many of you prefer to mail in a check or make your donations to Change for Change online. You can always make your gift by mailing a check to First Unitarian. Just write Change for Change on the menu line, or make an online payment through our website, oneuc.org.
It's an honor to be part of Reverend Sue's first service here in Oklahoma City and a joy to reflect on the topic that she's laid out for us today. However, I struggled right up through yesterday to finish what I would say here today. My head and soul have felt particularly discombobulated lately. My home, usually my sanctuary and place of calm, has been in disarray for the past 6 weeks due to a remodeling project. And my work as organizer for Voice, our city's broad-based organizing effort, work that's been my heart work for 15 years and my day work for the past year and a half, is currently demanding a lot. And I've been focusing too much on all the many things I'm not getting done well and how many people I may be letting down. Even though I know better, at least when I'm in my best self, I can get impatient with the sacred but slow and deliberate work and struggle with the public discourse and legislative craziness that seems anti-person. So I've been struggling a little bit with finding the joy. But I realized yesterday morning that this is exactly when this exercise of breathing and reflection is most important. So thank you, Reverend Sue, for the reminder of this discipline of seeking and embracing joy. As I look around this congregation, I see a lot of kindred spirits, people who have devoted themselves to seeking justice in big and little ways, as activists, as elected officials, as volunteers, as donors. That fire to make a difference in the world has taken me on a lot of adventures and allowed me to make at least some small contributions. It's also made me very happy to be alive and right here in this moment. After all, if we can't enjoy this beautiful and imperfect world, why would we devote our lives to trying to contribute something? Here are just a few of the spaces where I seek and find joy, and where I devote time that renews me and keeps me moving ahead. The people around me, my loved ones, Bob and Catalina, they keep me grounded, laughing, humble, and focused on the important things. It's also the people I've met through Voice who have kept me devoted to that work. There are many, including priests, pastors, the immigrants to our city, the people born just a mile away from us here who, paraphrasing Audre Lorde, were never meant to survive. I've learned and been inspired by their stories and their commitments to making things better for all of us. And I know just looking around this congregation that the people in our community here and online have as many stories as the ones I've just mentioned, if only we take the time to ask and listen. Gardening and learning about the natural world is another source for me of joy. I'm not a learned or credentialed gardener. After all, I really started when I was in Costa Rica when even my fence posts grew. They did. I had to trim them. I don't know many of the names of plants. I forget what and where I planted, and I have as many failures as I have successes in that area. But I dive in anyway, because it's healing. And authors like Donna Shaper on grassroots gardening, Suzanne Simmerd on trees, and Merlin Sheldrake on fungi have helped me arrive at a kind of joyful and spiritual understanding about how connected and maybe the better word is inseparable. Everything in our world is inseparable. And I focus on beauty when I can find it. I remember my father talking about the way that a physics equation was beautiful when the simple can elegantly explain the complex. For me, music and the visual arts are my go-tos. Playing flute and listening to music of all kinds is an essential part of me. Contemplating the work of visual artists like Kehinde Wiley, Mark Rothko, and local fiber artist Leah Woods help me breathe deeply and be present in a way that nothing else can. I'd love to know where you find joy. Please grab me sometime here on a Sunday, or let's have coffee. I'll close with a quote that turns out isn't actually by the anarcho-feminist Emma Goldman, but it's good anyway. If I can't dance, I don't want to be part of your revolution.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite hymns. Almost 100 years old, but very contemporary. We need lots of courage and lots of wisdom in these times. I invite you to do whatever helps you prepare for a time of spoken and then silent meditation. And during the silence, I'll invite you just to call out the names of anyone that you would like remembered, simply the names of those that you would wish to lift up in prayer. And of course, you can also, I'll invite you to lift up people and concerns silently as well. These words come from the Reverend Lynn Cox. Divine music of the universe, let our hearts beat in diverse and harmonious rhythms, cooperating with an everlasting dance of love. May we move with the rhythms of peace. May we move with the rhythms of compassion. May we move with the rhythms of justice. Source of stars and planets and water and land, open our hearts to all of our neighbors. Open our souls to a renewal of faith. Open our hands to join together in the work ahead. And now in the silence, we lift up our prayers and concerns, either silently or by naming someone that we wish to remember. Sean. Grant us wisdom and courage, and ears to hear, eyes to see, hearts and spirits open with compassion. So be it. Blessed be. Amen. So I will simply begin with a very short reading, a quotation really from E.B. White, essayist, writer of children's books, including most notably Charlotte's Web. I arise in the morning, torn between the desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. This makes it hard to plan the day. In these few words, E.B. White captures some classic human questions. Why are we here? What shall we do with our lives? How shall we spend our days? Do we devote our days to improving the world, working for justice? Or do we simply kick back and enjoy? The Reverend Dick Gilbert, a veteran UU minister and strong advocate for justice, names the dilemma this way: to savor the world or to save it. To savor the world or to save it. Goodness knows this world is full of incredible beauty. It blesses each day with its gifts. It calls us to celebration. But as we know, it's also a broken world full of unbearable suffering. The times we live in with heartbreaking news from Ukraine, now from Russia, from Israel and Gaza, from nearby Owasso, they all make us acutely aware of this. They stir our conscience. They pierce our hearts. They shred our souls. So which do we respond to, the beauty or the brokenness? For those of us living lives of privilege, there's always the temptation to savor the beauty and shut out the rest. And speaking personally, I know I'm not exempt. As a middle-class Caucasian woman, I have been shielded by white skin privilege all my life. I've taken for granted things like food on the table, a good education, police whom I expect to protect me, not harm me. And these days, in Albuquerque, I live in a modest but safe senior community with a gate that closes from 6:30 at night to 7 in the morning. In such a sheltered life, I can easily focus on my garden, my family, my friends, music, and not much else. But sooner or later, the world's suffering is going to demand our attention. If nothing else, a sheltered life gets kind of boring after a while. Beauty grows our souls. And in the long run, though, to thrive, we need challenges and ethical demands as well. And in the past few years, I don't have to tell you any of this, but what with COVID, January 6th, so many mass shootings, and legislative assaults on women, immigrants, trans people, the LGBT community more broadly, the world's pain has come crashing into previously sheltered lives. And in some ways, I have to say that's a good thing, not the events themselves, but the changed perceptions of privileged people. It's good that our awareness of pervasive systemic racism is growing. It's good that we're learning to link incidents of extreme weather to global climate change. It's good that we're learning how fragile our democracy is. But let's face it, all that knowledge is hard and painful. And I really don't think it's extreme to call our age a time of apocalypse. Now, we may associate that word apocalypse with the end of the world, but the world actually means something a little different. It comes from two Greek words, apo, which is like the prefix un, un, and kalypto, which means to cover or hide. So an apocalyptic time is a time of uncovering, the lifting of a veil. For instance, stories of police brutality against people of color is the uncovering the raw exposure of America's white supremacist history. It's been embedded in our nation's soul since the beginning, but too often denied. And a few years ago, the winter power crisis in Texas laid bare the limitations of unregulated free markets and go-it-alone mentalities. So for a while now, we've been at a turning point, the kind of which Antonio Gramsci referred to when he said, "The old world is dying, and the new world struggles to be born. Now is the time of monsters." Between old and new worlds, so much ugliness confronts us, so much hatred, so much ignorance, so much grief. And the turning never comes without a struggle. We are in this, in other words, for the long haul, transforming our community, our state, our nation, our world, cannot be a sprint. It has to be a marathon. Or to use an image from gardening in my own home state of New Mexico, it can't be a quick downpour that pelts the ground and then runs off into the arroyo. It needs to be a slow, steady, lasting rain, a rain that soaks the ground and reaches deep into the world roots. Takes time. As the young black novelist Jason Reynolds has written, this is the beginning of the journey of a lifetime. And it can feel overwhelming. But we keep going, putting one foot in front of the other, doing, as my colleague John Cullinan says, the next small, smart thing, and then another and another. So it occurs to me, if this is a long-haul journey, then maybe the savor or save dichotomy isn't really a dichotomy after all. Rather than having to land on one side or the other, perhaps there's a way through the middle. I think Adrienne Marie Brown is onto something when she says that pleasure is one of the ways we know that we are free, that we always have the power to co-create the world. Perhaps you've known social activists who burn out from trying to improve the world. Perhaps you've been there yourself. I've certainly have. These folks are constantly pushing themselves to do good and never take time to feed their souls. They risk becoming exhausted, depressed, cynical, or all three. At very least, their sense of humor is always at risk. So maybe the medicine for this isn't to give up, but to lighten up. If we are on the edge of burnout, maybe we need to inject some pleasure into our lives. Maybe we need to incorporate some laughter, some joy. E.B. White reflects, and Sundra said basically the same thing this morning, if we forget to savor the world, what possible reason do we have for saving it? In a way, the savoring must come first. So how do we open ourselves to joy and do it without moving into denial or abandoning the struggle altogether? It may be as simple as incorporating joy breaks into what we're doing every day. Joy breaks. When we're too tired to keep working or when we hit a creative block, we give ourselves permission to do something we love to do. We can go outside and look at birds, or play with our kids or grandkids, or watch a sunrise or the night sky or next week's eclipse. We might toss a ball around or play music or dance to it. The possibilities are endless. And a second strategy, though, is to just reframe the way we think about our work. Sometimes a small shift in context and attitude can help us make a difference in ourselves. For instance, for many years I was involved in one way or another with anti-racism work, mostly within the denomination, and I've come to know it as a source of deep satisfaction, intellectual challenge, and personal growth. But it can also be difficult, discouraging, painful. We run up against roadblocks. We have our motives questioned, and we may question our own motives and commitments. And a way through this is to keep the end goals of our work always in mind. Keep alive the vision of the world that we are working toward. I think of Chris Crass, a UU anti-racism trainer who always challenges the groups he's leading. Doesn't it give you joy to think about a truly inclusive, multi-gender, multiracial society? He encourages us to keep our eye on that prize. And finally, a third thing we can do is ask ourselves, What's my calling in this world? What is my vocation? Why am I here? This is a serious question, but I think maybe it has something to do with joy. During the height of COVID, I took 2 online classes, one from a yoga teacher and one from a class in an Enneagram by a Christian minister, and both said the same thing: we are created for joy. We are created for joy, I agree. And that reminds me of novelist Frederick Buechner's definition of vocation. He once suggested that our vocation is the place where our deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. Where our deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. In addition to thinking about the world's needs, we can think about our own talents and gifts. We can think about the things we love to do most, the things that give us joy. Is there a way these can be turned into an offering, a gift to the world? A couple of stories might just give us some clues to spark our own thinking. One is about the great Spanish cellist Pablo Casals. He was in his 20s and he was already a celebrated musician, but then he had a crisis. He looked at the world around him with its violence and injustice and was plunged into despair. And he asked himself, how can I keep playing the cello in the midst of so much suffering? But eventually, the dawn came to him. Perhaps his music couldn't be an end in itself, but that didn't mean he should abandon it. He just needed to think about it differently. For him, that meant making his music part of humanity. And after that, for the rest of his life, Casals knew that music was his vocation. He wrote, "To see people gathered in a concert hall came to have symbolic significance for me. When I looked into their faces, and when we shared the beauty of music, I knew that we were siblings, all members of the same family." Maybe closer to home, there is a story of a woman who was grieving the death of her husband. And now that she was alone, she was at loose ends. What would she do with her life now? Well, she went to talk to her minister, who was the pastor of a large downtown church, and this minister asked her, well, think about this. What comes easily to you? What gives you energy? So she did go away and think about it, and she finally realized that what she really loved to do was to set a beautiful table. She loved to coordinate various food and flowers, placemats and napkins, and to make everything turn out beautiful and delicious. And she especially loved doing this for her late husband. This little seed of an idea was parlayed into a weekly lunch at the church for downtown workers, a ministry that continued long after this woman had died. And those who came to the luncheons appreciated not only being fed, but also enjoying an island of peace and hospitality in the midst of their hectic lives. And who knows how that sense of welcome and peace might have rippled out into the wider community. And so my wish for each one of us is that we tap deep well springs of joy. And may this joy be a blessing to us, to our friends and family, to this congregation, and to the world around us. And may it fuel our efforts toward a more just and compassionate world, the vision of a world made fair, with all its people one. Our closing hymn is number 119 in Singing the Living Tradition, Once to Every Soul and Nation.
Once to every soul and nation comes the moment to decide in the strife of truth with falsehood, or the good or evil side. Then to stand with truth is noble when we share its wretched cross. Ere that cause bring fame and profit, and 'tis prosperous to be just. Though the cause of evil prosper, yet till through the Lord is strong. Though its portion be the scaffold, and upon the throne belong, then it is the brave one chooses, while the coward stands aside, till the multitude make virtue of the faith they have denied.
And so, may we hear the melody of life and find ourselves singing harmony. May we be open to the dissonances of the song of the land and its people, that we might be part of the world's urging toward justice, peace, and love. May we feel in our bones the rhythms of life and the land, and find ourselves dancing. So be it.